Episode of Real Talk with Joe and Cody. My name is Joe with Skipper Realty Group, brokered by eXp Realty, with my buddy Cody Wilhelm with Residential Mortgage. Hello, Cody. How's it going?
I can't complain. Other than the weather, it's been a little rainy lately, but otherwise, so far so good. How about you?
Same. Yeah, I knew this was coming. I knew the rain was going to come. I knew the cold weather was coming back. I just had hope.
I know.
And it crushed my hope this week of I was like, maybe it won't. Maybe it won't be Oregon. Maybe it'll go into spring and we'll just be in spring. But apparently that's not the case.
Well, we got such a teaser 2 weeks ago or whenever. It was like a solid week of just nice dry weather. And now we're back into winter weather. So here we are.
Well, you've got probably a ton of grass to mow now that the rain has come back and probably getting you going again. So that's good. I'll be up in your neck of the woods this weekend for baseball in the rain and the cold. Rory's got some baseball games up at Union High School there. So we're going to head up there on Saturday. So depending on how he does, we'll be there Sunday as well. But
nice.
Yeah. So we'll get to enjoy some rainy baseball.
Yes. Those are long games too.
Yeah.
How long are they? What, hour and a half?
I think there's a limit. I think they have to. I think the last inning is on a minute or an hour and 45. You can't start another inning or something like that. So, it's actually exciting. It's fun. They're high level play for their age, so it's kind of fun to watch. And but in the rain and the cold, it can be a little difficult. But I need to suck it up. I tell him to suck it up, so I need to suck it up. But.
Hey, suck it up out there. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be in the car watching you. Okay. But you need to man up.
Well, today, man, I wanted to go. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant. But I wanted to. It will lead us to a positive transition.
Yes.
But the topic, I wanted to cover, was kind of, and what led me into this topic is not a great lender. Not a great lender, and how people. And what people will get with different types of lenders. You can always, there's a billion lenders in this world. There's just in the state of Oregon or just in the state of Washington, there's thousands and thousands to choose from. And people don't, you get overwhelmed. Similar to real estate, you can get overwhelmed with well, who's better? Everyone says they're the best, but who is the best? And I personally don't think there is a one size fits all in lending or in real estate. However, there is pros and cons to going with bigger or less committed lenders versus someone like yourself. And the reason I'm saying that is because we have a client that is struggling currently to close right now. And it's because there was just the contact between the lender and them was so distant. They work until 5 o'clock and then they're done. They do not work weekends, East Coast time. So now we are all racing with someone who really thinks of the client as a cog in the wheel and just a widget and pumping through. And we're sitting here waiting to close. Two people's lives are frozen in time. Movers are frozen. Everything's done all because a lender did not make the right communication with the client in order to get typical paperwork. This is not a rocket science deal. This was nothing complicated. But because this buyer chose a lender that probably gave them a good rate, maybe, but because of that, had to do mass numbers in processing. We are now seeing the ramifications of what could be that distance between the closeness of the lender and the communication of a lender to the client, especially leading up to a downtime. And the reason I say that is because today we were supposed to close and they need a document that should have been taken care of a while back, or at least communicated they don't have the document a while back, which we've worked with you and other lenders that are on it, or at least communicate through the weekend, or working on things, or on a first name basis with the underwriter, or something that we can kind of push things along when needed to push along. So what we're finding is they are 50th in line to the processing, and they're going to stay 50th in line unless we make a scene. So anyways, my rant is over. I'm a little upset today for my clients. I'm a little upset for the buyers and the sellers, but it leads me to to a question to you, kind of advice to give buyers of what do you look for in a lender? Obviously price is going to be an issue, and the fees that they charge, or the programs that they offer, but to avoid situations like this, what do you suggest a buyer go to for a lender? What's the starting process out of the thousands that are out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, because I think there are a lot of options, and as the world becomes more and more online and convenient, and you can do all the stuff without even seeing who your loan officer is. You could deal with somebody like your clients, over on the East Coast. There's a personal connection part of it can easily be taken out of it, especially if you're not in the area. But my recommendation is and will always be connect with somebody local. And I work with people that are outside of our area too. And it just kind of happens that way sometimes. But I think a local connection is the best. And aside from knowing somebody directly, I'd say ask somebody that maybe that recently bought. Who did you use? If you're working with a real estate agent, ask the real estate agent if they have good recommendations, because those are typically those are more hands-on experience. Like, you have a recommendation of a couple lenders, and them, you've worked with them, you trust them, you have good communication with them, and that that's going to work all the way through, right? But some of them that are bigger places, maybe more national. Some of them are more of a call center type setting, and not to take away from what anybody does, because everybody's got to have a job. But I think for something that I personally do and prefer is the relationship building side of it, as opposed to the call center where you're kind of taking in inbound calls, you're taking in the applications, you're doing this, and it's kind of like, once that's done, it's on to the next. Whereas what I do, and a lot of local lenders will do too, it's relationship based. So your name means everything. So if the transaction doesn't go like it should, that's a knock on your reputation, right? So it's not just oh, well, whatever. The next one's going to come in today, and it just is what it is. It's like, there's a lot, just like there's a lot of importance to making sure that you're doing it the right way, that you're doing as good of a job as you can, because our future business relies on what that next opportunity is. If I don't do a very good job, I'm not going to get referrals from the real estate agents, the client, the escrow officer, whoever it might be. So we are running our own business, even though we work for a company. So that's why I think local is really important, because there's a high importance on, you're working with people that you live in the same community as too. So it's not as if you can just kind of go, oh, whatever, they live in Minnesota. Like, I'm never going to see them. I'm never going to talk to them again. It doesn't really matter. It's more of a transaction as opposed to a relationship. This is a person that I'm going to want to keep in contact with for the rest of their life, for the rest of my life, because I want potential business. I got to know them throughout the process. Like, there's a whole thing to it. So, long-winded answer, but I think that the best thing that you can do is get a personal recommendation from someone that you know and trust, that has used them or knows them or has worked with them, to really give you the full picture, because you're going to get cheap. It's just like anything. You can buy the knockoff cheap version, and sometimes you can get away with it and it works fine if you only use it a few times. It's like getting a Harbor Freight tool. I love Harbor Freight tools, but if I'm going to get something that I use all the time, I'm probably not going to buy the cheaper version of it. I'm going to buy the reliable, more expensive version. The cheaper version works as needed, but you get what you pay for. And the cheapest version is not going to be the best loan officer, because the best loan officer is not going to be working in the call center type of place, because they provide a quality product and a quality service. And that obviously, takes more money for the company, for resources, for marketing, for all the different things that come into it. So I think it's just really important to get that personal reference from somebody that you know, like, and trust.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's tough to look at the numbers. I think when you're buying something so big, you kind of nitpick numbers. Where can you save? Where can you save? Where can you save? And that's totally understandable, because we all do it. But like you said, you're going to give up something. So make sure that something that you're giving up is okay to give up for you. And most of the time, that's like you said, it's a lack of communication. It's the lack of caring about you and your sale. You are just one of many, because they have to have many, because they charge at a discount. So if you're okay with that, like I would say, if people are like, yeah, I don't care, I don't want to talk to my lender, any problem that arises, we'll deal with it. If you're that, then maybe you would go with a discount, lender. But in this case in particular, and this is unfortunately more common than you think, is that people think, well, what does the lender do? Like, it just goes through the process just like any lender. And it's like, well, until now, now, would I like to have Cody to talk to right now? Yes. Over Joe lender over on the East Coast, like I don't know who he is. He doesn't know who I am and doesn't really care and doesn't know who the client is. So it's like to have that in times of crisis and these sort of things, and having a team of experts that are on your side as the client is going to make those things just not happen, which I think in turn, some people think, well, last time it went fine, so this time it should go fine too. And it's funny, I even say that because this buyer has used that lender before and it went fine. And now this buyer is like, why did I go with this lender? Because now we can't move into our home. We've got to push back movers. We've got to get all this stuff done. So long-winded response to your answer is basically you do get what you pay for, especially in the real estate world. Same thing. Like you're going to get what you pay for. You can easily get a discount broker. You can easily go online and sell it yourself. I wouldn't say easily, but you can easily start the process. It's when things hit the fan is that you need experts to guide you through it and to be available to guide you through it and think that your deal means something to them and their reputation, as well as they care about you as a person to get the deal done in the right way. So,
and it just goes to show too, like with that experience, they had a really good experience with them before and then not so good of an experience this time. Each transaction is so different from one another, even if it's the same two people that are buying and they bought, 3 years ago. Different regulations change, different experience. Like there, and not only that, but you have a different home that you're factoring in. So there's a lot of different things. So it takes so much attention to detail. From the outside, it might look very basic and easy, and from a lending perspective, it's like salary, the money's in the bank, like very easy, not a lot of moving parts, right? And so I think sometimes those can tend to get overlooked, that there are these little things kind of woven in there that you really still have to be aware of, and it just takes a lot of there's a lot that the lender, the loan officer, the lending team, all of it that they do that is behind the scenes. Because I think for me, and I think a lot of people too, it's like you want it to feel like it's an easy process, but not so much that it's like, oh, well, I don't even think they did anything. I sent in a few documents and, they never did a whole lot. Like that's the experience that we want. But at the same time, the understanding too of like what is going on. And that's where the communication and knowing, where everything's going. But on the flip side though, like from the real estate, from your real estate agent perspective, like what's the best way or how would you recommend somebody seeking out and finding a real estate agent to get connected with? Obviously not on Zillow or anything, but
it's along the same lines. There's a billion of us in the industry. So first thing is like find a reputable person, someone who's not been, just jumped into the bandwagon when rates were at 3% and just trying to sell, make a quick buck. But the same thing, communication, like I said, there's not a one size fits all agent for every client. I like to think I can get along with anyone, but that apparently is not the case. And if you ask my wife, she would say yes. That is true. You don't get along with everyone. But I think one is you have to make the connection with the agent. Like generally it's from referrals. Like primarily Christina and I's business is from referrals, which people want to know you, like you, and trust you. I think we run into the same issue though, is how can I save a little bit of money? And I totally get it, because the money involved in these transactions is big. And it's a lot, and we don't take that for granted. So it's finding an agent that doesn't take it for granted, that gives you the experience, the value, the communications, the expertise, all of the things that combine to make you walk away from that deal saying, I got a good deal on this sale and I was treated appropriately for the commission price. I think what we have kind of, some agents have rested on, especially in the past, have just rested on the great rates. And it's like, as rates get in, just people sell and buy more. That's just life. And so what happens is you get agents that come in to take advantage of that. What we're seeing now, and I think is a good thing, is that we're starting to weed out those agents. Those agents are dropping off out of our industry. And you're seeing the ones that thrive are the ones that are saying, hey, here's the value that I provide you as a client and why it's worth it to go with me. Not, I can discount you this, I can discount you that, let me nitpick here, or it's really agents that just can show you their value are a big deal in our industry. And it's on agents to show that value. We can't just sit there and put them on an email list and say, okay, let me know when you find a house.
Right.
You know, because people are more cognizant of what we do, especially with this NAR lawsuit and that sort of stuff. So
Sure.
So yeah, my long-winded answer is just choose me and you'll be fine.
That's the
More
safe bet.
likely than not. And go with Cody,
Yes.
and you'll be more likely than not fine. So
right. Yeah.
just
Well,
make
and
it
isn't
super
there,
simple. But
yeah, I think that there's the good pressure too of being compensated more for what you're doing forces you to have to do a good job and provide a quality product, as opposed to
for sure.
being the discounted version. It's like, all right, well, you know, not that I'm saying
What
that
did you
people just
expect?
think that they can just kind of do bottom level, but I think it does creep into your head a little bit. Like if you're always the cheapest, most discounted,
Absolutely.
you're not necessarily probably going to provide the best overall experience. But if you know that you're getting paid maybe more than what somebody else would be, or at least higher up than what, say, the discounted version is, there is an expectation, because you know that you're charging more, so you need to be providing more too, so that it's not a feeling of like, well, that was underwhelming. So it definitely goes with everything, you know, everything you buy, you pay more and you're expecting more. And when you get it, that's great. You feel like you deserved and you knew what you were getting. And when you pay more for the product that breaks and you're like, I could have bought the cheap version of this and saved myself all the headache, but here we are.
For sure.
Here we are. Well, hopefully that one gets squared away. I would say
the same thing. Like I hope it gets squared away too. I'm just like, probably bad timing for you and I to be on this thing when I was like just getting calls about this, like delaying closing. I'm like, oh, I'm going to talk to Cody online. So that's great. So, no, I hope it's done well. Yeah. I think you get what you pay for in this industry. I think you as buyers and sellers should require a level of service that you deserve. And if that person doesn't do it, you may think like, but we're saving like a few grand here. Like this is huge. You know, we could use this money to do this.
Yeah.
It may work and it may not. So it's like, if you're willing to take the risk, go for it. And I tell people all the time, like people have contacted me and said, hey, I want to go for sale by owner. Go for it. I'm not like going to pressure you to go with me if you don't want to. But just know the ramifications of what could happen. It may not, but you're more of one of the lucky ones versus the more common ones, which is most people end up either hating the broker they worked with and the agent they worked with, or they picked a good one.
Sure.
So
yeah.
Okay, man, my rant's over. Hopefully we ended on a positive note.
Yes.
But it was good to see you, and I hopefully you have a good rest of your week. And
you as well.
Yeah, you're headed off to a cool place next week, so we'll maybe talk about that.
I am. Yes, I'd love to share my experience. Do a little golf venture down to Abandoned Dunes.
Gonna be fun. Fun, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll talk to you soon, man. Thanks for joining.
Yeah.